Honestly, there's been a lot of check-ins lately from girls feeling left out, feeling like they don't fit in, people like not including them to sit with them at games, just a lot. And it's been 5 or 6 people sharing each week. And I'm like, I need to talk about this. Something that is so unique about our lifestyle, it's one of the blessings of our lifestyle, is that you do get kind of a built-in group of girls where you are. And something that's very difficult is that every year changes. You're never going to have the same group that you had the year before. It just doesn't work that way. You're listening to Breaking the Ice podcast, a podcast that I created in 2020 to connect women within the hockey world. My name's Devyn Dodero, my husband's Charlie Dodero, and we've played literally all over the world. We have 2 kids, 2 dogs, and let's just say hockey has taken my world by storm. What I've learned is that this community and these experiences are very specific, and you should not have to go through this alone. Through this podcast, I share the tools, resources, do's, don'ts, and what's helped me along the way while continuing to learn from each and every one of you. So lace them up and tune in for episodes twice a month. And make sure to follow the page on Instagram at Breaking the Ice Pod. Welcome back to the podcast. I wanted to do a solo episode this week because sometimes I just want to go a little bit more in depth on some topics that I hear coming up repetitively, things I've talked about in my own personal life. And yeah, sometimes it just calls for a solo episode. So today I want to talk about being away from home for the holidays. I'm going to be talking about holiday traditions that I'm doing this year, and hopefully this will give a few people some ideas. I'm going to talk about friendships in this lifestyle, as well as motherhood. All of these things have been coming up a lot in the Sunday check-ins. And if you do not follow my page or watch my stories, the Sunday check-ins is something I try to do every single week if I'm available, and do just that. Like, it's a Sunday check-in where people can submit something anonymously. It's always reshared anonymously. I love this community that we've built, and I love that it's just a very safe place to share your feelings. And I get so many of them, and I wish I could reshare all of them, but I try to share as many as I can. And the whole purpose is so that you can see that there is someone most likely going through something very similar to you. I think these are very validating for people. I think as women, we need to feel heard and need to feel validated and to know, just feel that sense of connection that we aren't alone. We're not going crazy. Like this, this happened or this happened, and I can see someone else is going through it too. So it's a really great way to connect and feel heard in this lifestyle. So I love the Sunday check-ins. And yeah, all of these things have been coming up, and I feel like I've kind of touched on it here and there, but I just wanted to go a little bit more into it. So I'm happy you're here today. This is a safe space for you guys to just feel connected to others who just get it. I want to start off just talking about the challenge of being away from home for the holidays. As hockey families, I think majority of us are not living in our hometown or where we have this like kind of built-in community outside of the hockey world. And so it can be very challenging, especially with, social media these days, to see what everybody else is doing and then feeling like you are so far removed from that situation. And that is very, very challenging. I want to just make you feel heard on that because I struggle with that in the way that, if I see all my friends get together, all my friends do a Secret Santa, I so badly wish I could be there and have just like the worst FOMO. And I'm so happy that they have each other to do it with. But I'm just like, it's just hard to see sometimes, which is totally normal. You just want to be with your people. If you are listening and you're in North America, something you might not know is that a lot of Europeans celebrate Christmas on the 24th. So a lot of days we have practice on the 25th and a game on the 26th. And so That can also be challenging because if the holidays are really important to you, like your spouse having zero time off of work consecutively over this time, especially if you have a family, can feel frustrating. It can feel like I have no control over like Christmas, which is an important holiday to me. So there's a lot of different challenges that I think a lot of us experience. And I think the number one for most people is just feeling so far, wishing you could be with your friends and family. And it's funny because on the flip side, I feel like a lot of our friends and family back home see us in these beautiful, amazing locations, and they so badly wish that they could experience that as well. It's a good opportunity to just find gratitude in what you are doing and going through. And I sit down with my son every night before bed and we talk about the best part of the day and what part of the day we didn't like. And it just kind of opens the floor for them to share what they're feeling. And I think it's a good reminder to me too, to do that with myself, to try to find gratitude in the present moment. So yes, you might have those days where you're just missing home and let yourself feel homesick, but also make sure that you're celebrating those small moments that you're going through during the hockey season over the holidays. If you're listening and you have kids, I have definitely made my priority around the holidays making it special for them, which also is a nice distraction for me when I am homesick and wishing I was at, all of the holiday festivities. And Christmas is about the kids anyways, like it's about, like, this is their childhood and making it special for them is important to us as moms. So just focusing on that and letting that be, your priority during this time. Something that I realized I was doing for so many years is I would always compare my life here to my life back home. And I still do that from time to time when it comes to like just the daily living frustrations of little things that wouldn't be an issue back home, or just like those little inconveniences that just sometimes throw you for a little extra loop if it's that time of the month or you're just having an off day. I also do this with the holidays, and it's something that I have realized like I just can't do. Right now in this period of my life, my Christmas morning is not going to look how it's going to look in 5 years. And that is going to be a totally different time in our lives when we are able to like wake up in our house back home with our house decorated and our, kind of lifelong Christmas decorations. I think a lot of us don't get attached to the place that we're living because for most of us, we don't get to pick where we live. It's just, team housing. And sometimes it's hard to feel like, I don't know, the holidays can just feel weird in that sense. Like if you're not connected to that space, like it's just not that same like feeling that you would probably feel if you're in your, kind of permanent house back home. And so I found myself just always comparing, like almost having the ick, which sounds like so superficial, but it's just a feeling, and I realized like I can't do this. It's not going to look the same. This is not healthy for me to always be comparing this to that. And so I think it's really important to remember like it's not going to be the same. You can't compare the two. You're in a completely different country, like completely different living space. And so really just trying to acknowledge that it might not look the way you want it to. I want to move into some holiday traditions that I'm doing because I've been asked this a lot, especially if this is the first year or two you've kind of been bouncing around and what you're trying to do to make it special for your own family. I just shared a post on this on Instagram, so go check it out because I feel like it covers a lot of emotions that come with this topic. But something that I personally love to do is I love to ask girls on the team, specifically girls from other cultures than me, what some of their holiday traditions were growing up. And I have taken little nuggets of this kind of with me as I have navigated entering into being an adultier adult with children, that I'm like, oh, like now I'm the one that has to implement these traditions and really put a lot of effort into just making it so memorable for them. It's just, I grew up in a house where I feel like I really remember those holidays because my parents just made it so fun and special for me that I want my kids to experience the same thing. And the holidays are all about connection. And so just really spending as much time with as you can with your husband and your family and enjoying the season of life that you're currently in. I even told my husband, "Oh, I that would be so fun one night if we made like a bunch of small batches of different Christmas cookies." Like that would be a fun little date night idea that's just like cheap at home. Don't need to get a sitter, put the kids to bed. Like let's make some different cookies and eat them. Yeah, so I think just, finding things to do locally. You can do this on expat Facebook pages. You can do this by talking to other people on the team and seeing if they know of anything. I would say that I'm still in the phase of life where I'm figuring out what my family traditions are. A funny thing that my dad did growing up was he used to go in the backyard and roll up dirt in the backyard, and he would like put little pieces of carrots, and whenever Santa would write us a note back, it would say, "Sorry about the reindeer poop in the backyard." And I thought it was hysterical growing up, and I know that my son would just die if I did that. So that's probably just like a silly, funny tradition that I'll probably do just because I have such funny memories of it. And like, I remember running down the stairs when I was little every Christmas morning and like just running straight to see if the reindeers pooped. So it was just like such a funny thing. And now that my son's old enough to think it's hilarious, I will probably be doing it this year. I will report back. We are new to Elf in the Shelf. I started it last year, but then left it at my in-laws on our flight over to Europe. So then it just kind of didn't finish out the rest of the month, but I want to go a little more into it this year. If you do not know what Elf in the Shelf is, it's this little elf. They sell them at the grocery stores or on Amazon, and every day of the month they move to a different location in the house. Usually people name their elves. Our elf is Billy. And yeah, every night, and sometimes you wake up, you're like, oh my God, shit, I forgot to move the elf. So you have to do it really fast before your kids wake up. But these elves are like little spies for Santa, and they go and report back to Santa if you're being naughty or nice. And these elves can cause, like little messes and little traps around the house. And there's really funny, cute ideas online. And if I have a day where I do a cute idea, I'll post it because I just think it's fun for the kids. Like my kids last year thought it was hilarious when they move and they get so excited when they would find him in the morning. And so we'll definitely be doing that. We do stockings. I think that's pretty common in North America. That's usually the first thing we open. Christmas morning, everybody does their stocking. And what else do we do? Oh, Charlie and I back home started chopping down our own Christmas tree in the forest. This was like pre-kids. So that's going to be something fun that we can do once we're back home for good. That we'll probably just have, even it's just a little Charlie Brown tree, but like even if we put it up, have an upstairs tree in our playroom, it's just fun for the kids to like see how the whole process works of cutting down your own tree. So that's kind of a fun idea if you're living somewhere that's a little bit more woody. Like if you're listening and you play in Idaho, it's a really fun thing to do in any of those kind of locations. A friend of mine here, Louisa, told me that her mom used to do Christmas Eve boxes that she would get so excited about on Christmas Eve. They got to open one box and it had like cute little things like their matching holiday pajamas and like little socks or mugs or, whatever was put in the box. And I loved that idea and thought it would be so cute to have a Christmas Eve box on the 24th that's like from the elves, with little holiday pajamas, which holiday pajamas are a must, of course. You're going to want to look back on that in 20 years and remember each year that you did that. And yeah, just you'll be cherishing those moments for sure. So it's nice to just ask people around. And that's really where I've gotten a lot of like random traditions. And again, I'm still kind of figuring out as a mom, as the first couple of years, I'm kind of like, well, they don't really know what's going on anyways. So you can't really the traditions are more for you. But I think there's a lot of ways to make the holiday season feel special, even though this is a very unconventional setting. So yeah, I encourage you to just embrace what you're going through right now and trying to make it as fun as possible. I get asked all the time what my favorite stroller is, and I absolutely love the brand Zoe. I have two strollers from them. One of them is my double stroller, it's a side by side, and the other one is a travel stroller that's a single. We brought both of them overseas with us this year so that we could have one for if we're just taking one kid out, and then a double, obviously, if we're taking both of them out. And they are so lightweight, easy to maneuver. They completely fold back and retract for naps. I have been so happy with this brand and customer experience, and I cannot say enough good things about this brand. I feel like it helps distribute the weight easily versus a double stroller that's stacked that I felt was very top heavy. So if you are looking for a new stroller over this time, I'm going to share a link in the show notes that you can click to get $15 off your Zoe stroller. I want to move into friendships in the hockey world. I'm sure this is what everybody has been waiting for because honestly, there's been a lot of check-ins lately from girls feeling left out, feeling like they don't fit in, people like not including them to sit with them at games. Just a lot. And it's been 5 or 6 people sharing each week. And I'm like, I need to talk about this. This is a topic people want to hear about, but it's vulnerable to share anything about that, I think, for everybody. Something that is so unique about our lifestyle, it's one of the blessings of our lifestyle, is that you do get kind of a built-in group of girls where you are. It's kind of like you're all living in the same general area, maybe even in the same apartment complex. You're going through this season of life together. Your significant others are teammates, they're, friends usually. And so it's like, here's your group of friends for the next 8 months. And I think we have a lot of expectations. Like, at the end of the day, I truly believe that we all wish, it's just this great bonded group of friends. And so sometimes when it's not that way, it can be difficult because like 8 months is a long time to be away from home, and maybe being so far removed from your friends and family, like you want that sense of connection while you're gone. And something that's very difficult is that every year changes. You're never going to have the same group that you had the year before. It just doesn't work that way. People are getting traded or called up or sent down or, let go. And that can be all through the season, as well as just people just not getting re-signed, and the whole dynamic completely changes. There have been years where, I've been on teams with a very bonded group of girls and everybody's very engaged and wants to get together all the time and really make the most of the season. And I've also been on teams where, I've been the only import girl on the team. That can be really challenging as well when you don't have, maybe like the local girls are not even realizing that you would want to join in on something like that. Or, maybe you feel it's difficult with a language barrier. There's so many different little challenges that can happen. I've been on teams where there isn't really a dynamic with the girls. I've been on teams where I've met like a best friend. When I first met my husband, I was in school and he played in the town that I was going to school in. So like I had my own group of friends. I wasn't super immersed into the hockey culture really. Like, we were super new. I didn't really understand how the dynamic was. Like, I didn't really know if, like, I just didn't know, like I was just very new. And so it wasn't until we started going through some hard times, like long distance, like constant call up send downs, me going out to visit him and him getting called up while I'm out visiting, like things like that, where I just was like, okay, I feel really lost. I feel like I don't have any sort of community. And it wasn't until that next season that I met like one of my best friends for a lifetime. Like it was just a very like magnetic soul connection, and like we have a very deep friendship, and she became one of my bridesmaids after just one season playing together. And I did not realize how much of a game changer having that kind of relationship with someone else on a team can be. Like we just had the best time together. It was just truly like devastating when they left because we knew he was retiring and we weren't. And so we would never be living in the same apartment complex, like having this like kindred soul friendship together ever again. Like it, like in that season of life. And so that was really hard. And that was like the first time I was like, wow, like there is such a miss here, because like these friendships can happen. The next season, like the whole group kind of changed. And so like then I still had a great experience, made some really close friends, but like I was just noticing like how much of a change it was every year. And so I think when you do finally have that experience where it just feels so dynamic and so flowing with the girls on a team, it sets the bar high for seasons to come. Like that's kind of your expectation of what it should be like. Versus if you've only had negative experiences, or, teams where girls are kind of doing their own thing, like that might kind of be like your normal, and not realizing that like there is so much opportunity for connection and fun and really just making the most of the season. Another thing I want to touch on is like there is kind of a lot of pressure that's very unspoken of everyone having to be best friends. That is just not really going to happen. I feel like it's kind of an unrealistic expectation. And going back to what I said about this being such a unique situation where we kind of have this built-in group of friends when we sign with a new team, it reminds me of like different occupations, right? Because there are other occupations where the girls move with their husbands. Maybe your husband's a doctor or in the military, or another sport, or like whatever you might be moving for if you are following your husband's career. And there are also other wives in those same positions, maybe moving. Their husband got a job at a new company and they're moving. And I feel like in the sports world, and I love this about the sports world, because when I'm moving, I'm like, thank God there's other girls there. Like it just makes it so much better and gives you so much peace of mind. But I feel like in other jobs, you're not moving in like your husband's into computer science and you're like have all the computer science wives as friends. Like that's just like not what happens. And so there is such a pressure like, oh, we have to all click and all make best friends. And while I will go to my grave saying that everybody should be friendly to each other, and I think it is important to reach out to people that are different from you and try to make those little connections, because you never know what can happen. I also wholeheartedly believe that not everybody has to be best friends. There doesn't always have to be big group gatherings. There can also be small group gatherings, but at the end of the day, it's also important to have kind of both so that people don't feel excluded. I feel like I sometimes have to be the voice on my Instagram page that being very exclusive is really not cool. Like it feels so high school, to be honest, and I hate seeing it on the Sunday check-ins. I don't like that at all. This is obviously a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, and because it's reoccurring and because I know that it's important to talk about, I also want to share that it is a little bit uncomfortable for me to talk about, just because it's vulnerable, like I will sit here and say that I have felt excluded before in different situations on various teams, and I don't always think that it's intentional. But it's happened. So if you're going through that, please know it's not you. Like you're not alone. It's happened to everyone. I'm sure there's times where I've unintentionally excluded people myself. There's a lot of misunderstandings that can happen. And I feel like, 8 months, as intense and hot and heavy as it can feel, because it does expedite your friendship quite a bit, it's also a very short period of time of really knowing someone. I mean, I feel like a lot of my friendships back home have evolved so much over time. Like every time we see each other, like we go deeper and deeper. And so 8 months is really not a very long time to know someone. And so I feel like, yes, you can get close with people. Sometimes misunderstandings can happen, can be difficult. If you are someone that maybe doesn't open up as easily and it kind of makes you uncomfortable to like make new friends or put yourself out there. Like, I just want to validate that it is hard to do that, especially if you know that there's a chance that you guys might part ways at the end of the season and never see each other again. Like, I totally get that. It can take a lot of energy to invest in people when, you just don't know what's ever going to happen with hockey. But I also think it's important to do so for your mental health because women need each other. Like, we need to have support systems and validate it. And this is such a challenging lifestyle that if we don't have that, it can truly make us feel isolated even more. So the constant Sunday check-ins, I just hope that this is some sort of reminder for people to really just try to be inclusive in the hockey season, and being exclusive is not cool. And we are all so much better than that. We all know what it's like to be excluded. It does not feel good. Maybe you aren't even aware that you're doing that, but just trying to, open the door to new friendships and new relationships and maybe reaching out to someone that you normally wouldn't have. Like I mentioned before, a lot of us are put in the same, apartment complexes and such with other people on the team. And so I think feelings do get hurt if people see people hanging out with you can kind of see everything. Like, we've always lived on teams where we're all kind of in the same place. And that can be challenging, because if we're all spread out, like, you wouldn't always see that. And so I think there's a lot of just like overthinking, miscommunications, like so much can happen. And at the end of the day, I think that we all just want to feel supported and just feel content, right? Like, we just want to feel contentment. I would love to even just open up more conversation about this on the Instagram page because I think it's important. And I just want to leave you with this reminder that it is okay to not be close with everyone. Really, like, true lifelong friendship, it takes time and effort, and it's important to just find your people in this lifestyle that you can just talk to. We've all had highs and lows with this and these kind of unique relationships, and all I can hope for is that this just lands with a couple of people. I want to move into motherhood in the hockey season. This is 100% a balancing act for me. I will just share a little bit about how our season has been looking lately. We have games, back-to-back games every weekend, like usually either Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday. And even though the road trips are, quote, quick, they feel rather long to me because it's just a lot, with kids. Like, Charlie will leave Thursday, he'll be on Friday, they have a home game Saturday, Sunday, he's just absolutely wiped out, which I obviously understand. But by that point, I have been talking to two little kids who are very busy and do not listen to me. And, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my mind. I love being a mom. I just am with my kids so much, and I am so thankful for that. That's one of the things that I am like just so, so grateful for in this lifestyle, that I've gotten to be home with my kids for essentially starting with my son, the first 4 years of his life. Like, I'm just so fortunate. And I know at some point we would like another child, which will not be in the hockey world for anyone wondering. I would like to give birth at home and go back to my house and have a normal postpartum experience. But my point is, I don't know if I will get that kind of time with them because eventually I'll probably have to work a job. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I get to stay home with my kids. It's been such a blessing, honestly. But I will say it is very challenging to be home all the time. Like, we're in a smaller space. I feel like there's nowhere for me to really go. And I don't always get that kind of peace and solitude that I need. And so I feel very spread thin a lot during the season. So once Charlie is done with his home game, which is always like after an away game, so like either on a Saturday or Sunday, the next day he's wiped out. Maybe we have 2 days off, and then I'm like, I have a solid like 3 days to regroup, but then it's like he's gone again. And it's like the cycle just kind of keeps repeating. And I'm not sharing this for sympathy because I know that we're all in the same boat. I am sharing this in solidarity. It is hard. Burnout is real. My patience is so thin. Sometimes I find myself so frustrated with the kids, and I'm just like, okay, Devyn, you need to calm down. But I'm also like, I'm burnt out. This is why this is happening, because I don't feel like I am getting that break. And it's just because of the schedule and how exhausting it is. We all need more support as moms. Like, we were not meant to do this alone, and I will stand by that. And we are all doing so much. So you need to give yourself a pat on the back, first of all. And I also want to share just a couple of tips for you if you are in this position where you are primarily supporting your kids solo while the dad's away. I highly recommend finding a sitter that you trust. I love our sitter. I found her on an app called Babysits, and I try to schedule her if Charlie's gone for several days in a row. It is so nice to just step out, get my groceries for the weekend alone, run a couple errands, just go sit in a coffee shop. Even if I feel like, I think I can do this, I don't think I need a sitter. Sitters are expensive, easily, adds up in price. Just do it. Like, it'll just be so much better for you mentally if you just are able to slip out for even like 2 hours. Also, having a game plan for the weekend. If you are like someone that's a little bit more type B, this will be helpful for you, is to just open up the notes app in your phone and write out Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Go back, look at the weather app, see what the weather's going to what the weather's going to look like. What are you going to do with your time over these days that he's gone? What are you going to make for food? What is easy for you so that you're not putting all this extra pressure on yourself? Something I do not do when Charlie's gone is laundry. I don't want to be folding laundry when he's gone because I'm already doing so many other things to kind of pick up the slack of when he's not here. So I try to get all my laundry done earlier in the week so that I do not have to do that and I'm like stressed out about it when he's gone. I also ask him for support, and this is key. We need support as well. And before he leaves, I'm like, I'm off duty. I need to get done when I need to get done before you go, whether that's laundry, grocery store alone, having him take the kids out of the house, getting them exercise, having him walk the dogs. Like, he has to take on a lot the day before he goes because I have to take on a lot when he's gone. And so we do have to ask for that support. And I know, like, when he's at the rink, when he gets home, I'm like, okay, let's all do something as a family. But sometimes I'm like, I need you to take the kids because I need to be in here by myself, do this on my own, get this done, get this organized, whatever it may be. You have to carve out time for yourself, even when it's a busy season. It's not just a busy season for your husband, it's also a busy season for you. And go back to this quote, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You just can't. Road trips are long. It affects the functions of the family sometimes with the coming and going, and just trying to stick to a consistent routine for your kids is the best way to keep things running smoothly. To wrap up this solo episode, because I feel like I have been talking for hours on end, I want to remind you that you are strong and you are doing the Lord's work, people. You have a supportive community that has your back, that understands what you're going through. And I hope that some of these topics that I spoke on today just gives you permission to reflect on some of these things, whether it's holidays, friendships, motherhood, and taking what you find most valuable and really leaning into your support system during this time. Whew. All right. Thank you guys for listening. If you're still with me, I have a couple great episodes coming out soon, so stay tuned. And I'm also going to link a couple of other friendship episodes in the show notes for you guys to check out, if that is helpful at all to you. Thanks again for being here and listening, and have a great rest of your day.